Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. All right, well, we got some big news today. Sidney Powell pled guilty in this Fulton County case. And let me read through this, and then Kathy and I here will talk about this. Sidney Powell, one of Donald Trump's former lawyers, has suddenly pleaded guilty to conspiring. Now, this... People out there, I know a lot of Democrats, a lot of liberal-minded people start high-fiving, okay? Oh, do you understand where we are in this country when you have attorneys for people being arrested and charged with crimes? Almost every single person that is arrested is 100% guilty, and probably a bunch of crimes they never got caught for. For example, this Long Island serial killer that they got, this creepy guy. They killed all these girls. Terrible guy. I've seen like 3 or 4 true crime specials on this over the years. He has an attorney. His attorney, he has pled not guilty, right? The serial killer in Long Island has pled not guilty. His attorney, every time they go to court, says his client did not do it. Would you charge him with conspiracy to murder these women that the Long Island serial killer killed? And that's what's going on with Trump. Regardless of your opinions on Trump, you've got to say to yourself, well, wait a minute. Why are attorneys getting – and this isn't the first time.
Why are clients getting in trouble for advice their attorneys are giving them?
Yeah, we'll get that. So
that doesn't make sense.
So attorneys – this started with Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was the first. If you remember, they broke into Michael Cohen's office and they found a whole bunch of stuff. And I got news for you. Most every attorney that is involved in criminal defense work has all kinds of sleazy business going on, because they're dealing with criminals, defense attorneys, okay? They broke into Michael Cohen's office.
Well, yeah, most defense attorneys, I would say, definitely are on a sleaze scale.
Yeah, so they broke into Michael Cohen's office, and that was the beginning of this. And I said everything in the U.S. law is by, more so than legislation, is done by legal precedent. And they established this precedent. So now, I don't know, I've lost track of how many Trump lawyers have been arrested, charged, convicted, and facing charges, and, you know, and this is a whole new thing. So let's get back to this. So Sidney Powell, one of Donald Trump's former lawyers, pled guilty to conspiracy, and she made a plea deal. The so-called Kraken lawyer admitted to 6 criminal counts and a deal with prosecutors that saw her receive a reduced sentence. She avoided jail.
Yep.
And, okay, now this is another thing. All of these people around President Trump and those around him are not criminals. What Sidney Powell did and all that stuff is not a crime, okay? But what they do is they threaten someone who is not a criminal with prison. The scariest thing for those of us who are law-abiding citizens is going to prison, okay? So they threaten you with prison. She's 68 years old. 6 years, she may not survive it. You know, as you get older, things get a little more difficult, you know? And that's a big portion of the life that she has left. 6 years to Sidney Powell at the age of 68 is like a 25 to 30-year sentence. Because of her age, she has so few years left ahead, right? So they scare you with a long stretch in prison, and then you make a deal to avoid prison time, and you do it. She avoided jail and was given 6 years probation during a surprise appearance at the Fulton County Court in Georgia today. This is considered, according to this article, a devastating blow to Trump. She also agreed to testify truthfully against her co-defendants, including President Trump, in future trials. Now, this is an interesting thing. I follow court cases all the time in the news. I have always been, even though I may not talk about them on the program, I have always followed true crime stories. I read the local news and always have read the local news because of the local crime stories and everything else. I've never heard of someone agreeing to testify truthfully. This is an interesting thing. Now, whenever you make a plea deal, if you perjure yourself in that testimony, the plea deal's off and you get the time. Like, so if she went and lied, if she perjured herself in these trials, the 6 years, she'd get the 6 years in jail, okay? But what they mean by truthfully is if you don't tell the juries and the courts what the prosecutors want you to tell them, in this case with Sidney Powell, you will go to prison for 6 years, which as old as you are is the equivalent of a 25 to 30 year, perhaps even a life sentence. She agreed to testify truthfully against co-defendants, including President Trump, at future trials. The shock move sparked speculation that she had flipped and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors, turning on her old boss, which is Trump. And she flipped because she's scared that she won't survive, that she's going to go to prison.
Well, let me ask you, what would you do if you were Trump's attorney and you had advised him of something and they got you and you're facing 25 years in jail? I'd probably do the same thing she did. I don't want to go to jail for anybody.
Well,
I wouldn't go to jail for Trump, would you?
Here's what they
25 years? I don't think anybody would do that. Well, they might say it, but there's no way in hell when push comes to shove, you're going to do 25 years for anyone. And if they offer you a deal to turn on somebody, which is what she's going to do, most 99.99% of the people are going to take that deal.
What they did,
let's be honest.
What Fannie Lewis did in Fulton County, if you remember, she gave bail to everyone except the one guy. And that one guy spent a week in jail. He came out and they put him in a dirty cell that had feces on the walls, and he had a terrible experience. Again, so now we know why he didn't get bail. They wanted him to spend a week in jail, in this nasty jail in Fulton County, so that he would get out and tell his story in interviews, so other defendants like Sidney Powell and others would hear how bad the jails are in Fulton County.
Oh, absolutely.
As a way to coerce them into...
and they know that people are going to do that. And then what they do is they overcharge these people, and then they come back with a lesser charge as part of a plea.
That's right.
And they know that they're not going to go to jail for Trump, and they know that they'll do whatever they tell them to do. And Michael Cohen does the same thing. And now you see him on TV. I'm waiting for Sidney Powell to be on MSNBC bashing Trump, just like Michael Cohen is, or CNN. She'll become a regular contributor now.
And the thing is,
and she'll blame it all on him.
Just because someone pleads guilty does not mean they are guilty. It means that they're facing a lot of time in jail, and they break, and they agree to a deal that they probably don't really agree with.
That happens all the time. Like this guy that got convicted of we talked about it on another show, of putting his kid in a box in the garage. I didn't realize this. He got convicted of abuse and imprisonment and all this stuff. He is facing 30 plus years in jail for this, because there were like 3 or 4 counts, and he's facing up to 20 years each count. So he'll be in there for the rest of his life. He's like 40 years old, 45. They offered him a deal for 2 years, and he didn't take it. And you said to me, because he didn't want to admit he was guilty. I'm like, well, that is just freaking stupid.
Yeah.
Because now he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. So anybody with a brain in their head that's facing decades and decades in prison is going to take a deal, especially when you just get probation, which is all she's getting.
Well, yeah, but she's losing her ability to earn a living and all this.
Well,
in court, she pleaded guilty.
Not a hard choice.
In court, Sidney Powell pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanor charges of conspiracy. Her acceptance of a plea deal is described as a remarkable U-turn for a lawyer who would push conspiracy theories. In addition to probation, she was also given a $6,000 fine. She's also been ordered to write a letter of apology to the state of Georgia and the residents of Georgia.
But what are they saying she actually did? What is she admitting she...
She conspired with President Trump is what she's doing.
Okay.
Trump, the frontrunner in the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, has pled not guilty to 13 charges. Powell was accused alongside Trump and 17 others. Specifically, this is all this scheming and all this RICO stuff.
They're going to get them all to make deals. They will all make deals. And I disagree with you. She will make a living on television, and she'll probably write a book.
Well, no, she won't be able to practice law anymore.
No, but she'll make a living on CNN,
probably
bashing Trump. She'll write a book about it. They will make deals with everybody except Trump, and they're all going to have to testify against him.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, there's another trial that is set to begin.
It's called being railroaded.
Yeah, one of the Trump 19, of which he's won and Trump's won. One of the trials for another one of his attorneys is set to begin on Friday. Yeah, if Powell were to testify against Trump, which he is expected to do, because he's not going to change his plea, he's going to go to trial. She'll be giving information about meetings that they had together. Now, this is another thing that's a problem. Okay, when you have an attorney, you for an attorney to represent you properly, you have to be able to have confidence to tell an attorney anything. Your attorney, it's like talking to a priest in a confessional, and what they've done time and time again with Donald Trump is have his attorneys break attorney-client privilege. In The Firm, I read the book and then I saw the movie, but the movie with Tom Cruise.
The book's good.
The book was very good. I read the book years before I saw the movie, which was very unusual.
The book's better.
But anyway, with that whole thing was about him not breaking client confidentiality and attorney-client privilege, so he could practice law when it was done, and he found a way to do it. Remember, that was a whole plot in the movie. We're in a space now in the United States of America. We're supposed to be the beacon of democracy, and we have political prisoners. We have the leading presidential candidate, because Trump is leading Biden even in the polls, so he is the front runner, not just in the Republican primary, but in the race as a whole, Donald Trump. So we have political prisoners, the leading political opposition, who's the front runner in all polls. Donald Trump is facing over 1,000 years in prison. Lawyers are being threatened with long, possibly lifetime prison sentences unless they break attorney-client privilege.
Do you really think the Secret Service is going to let this guy go to Fulton County Jail? It's the worst jail in the country.
Kathy, the Secret Service. Now I've been in Trump's circle many, many times. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Since the first rally I went to with President Trump was in 2015 when he was still a candidate. And the last time was at Turning Point USA a couple months ago. And some of his Secret Service people I recognized from that first rally in 2015. There's a woman in particular who I saw at the very first rally, and I ran into her at the Turning Point. She looked to be the senior agent on the detail. Now, I don't know that she is, but she was giving out orders to other Secret Service agents, and she wasn't doing that on the first one. So Trump's Secret Service agents have been in his orbit, some of them, for like 8 years now, right? Because they were with him starting in the campaign. So there's probably a lot of loyalty. But Kathy, the Secret Service are agents of the federal government who, in the end, work for the commander-in-chief. So the government can order the Secret Service to take him to jail.
I don't think he will go to jail because I don't think that these people. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe they're very one-sided, which is possibly true. Maybe they haven't thought this whole thing through.
Yeah,
but
maybe they have.
Just imagine, okay, or maybe they just are so crazy they don't care. Just imagine if Trump ended up going to jail, which is a very likely possibility.
It could happen.
This Georgia thing. I'm more concerned with that than anything, because you have all these people now that are going to testify against him. It's a very liberal place. So I'm very concerned about the Georgia no more than anything. Imagine if they do sentence him to jail, 30 years in Fulton County, and he goes. He said he's willing to go to jail. Imagine what that would do to the country. I mean, first of all, it would make Trump a political prisoner like Nelson Mandela. And that would only help him even more and make him more popular and upset people so much more than ever. I don't know if they have thought this through. I'm hoping that it doesn't go to that, and that they have they even offered him a plea deal. I know he wouldn't take it.
No.
He wouldn't take it, but if they have they offered him a deal?
No. Not
do you think
they offer the lower hanging fruit deals to flip on them?
Right, that's what they do. Do you think that they would put him in jail?
Yes.
And what do you think that would mean for the country, for an ex-president? I know this is all they want is him behind bars. What would that mean for the country, for a very popular, very, very popular, probably the most popular ex-president to be in prison? What would that do? What would that do for the morale? I mean, to me, that is unconscionable to think that they would even. I think it would really hurt the Democrats tremendously.
It would be
tremendously.
Let me tell you, it'd be devastating for the country,
and it would make him a folk hero and a prisoner, a political prisoner, and
it wouldn't be devastating just for him and now. It would be awful. It would be the worst thing that any of us have ever experienced in this country. But it would go beyond.
But they don't care.
It would go beyond us. After we're all dead, it would have an impact in 100 years, 150 years, because the new norm in America would be like it is in Latin America: jail your political opponents. And that's what's going on here.
It's going to set a legal precedent.
And I'll tell you, in
it'd be devastating.
In 2015, when everyone was saying lock her up to Hillary, I said and a lot of you out there got very mad at me about this, guys, if you remember. And I said, you do not want Hillary Clinton to go to jail. She's a criminal, and the things she did, she's committed crimes that are unimaginable. I think one of her biggest crimes, that when people think of her crimes, they don't think of this one so much. One of her biggest crimes as Secretary of State was signing off on that deal to give the Russians 20% of the U.S. uranium supply. Uranium is what weaponizes nuclear weapons. Here we are on the verge of war with Russia, and Russia has nuclear missiles aimed at American cities with American uranium in them. That's a crime against – that's treason. She did that. That's high treason. And I said then, even with that crime, I said you do not want Hillary Clinton to go to jail, because if Hillary Clinton goes to jail, they're going to go after Trump, and they're going to go after
him anyway.
And well, I'm not a psychic. I didn't realize that they were actually go this far.
Yeah.
So, but here we are. So putting your political opponents in prison is not a good thing. Now, yesterday, we were talking on yesterday's podcast about Robert Kennedy Jr. They had this fake poll. Remember this NPR poll? They had a PBS NPR poll. It doesn't get more liberal than National Public Radio and PBS. PBS television and NPR, who shouldn't have money to commission polls since they're funded by the government. They seem to have too much money. They need to get their funding cut. They commissioned a poll saying, and the poll, of course, showed that Robert Kennedy Jr., that he was going to take votes away from Trump more so than Biden, big threat to Trump. And something came out about Bobby Kennedy that
I read this. This definitely will, yeah.
Yeah, and Bobby Kennedy came out in favor of reparations for African Americans. Yeah. And I don't want to get sidetracked talking about reparations, but I just want to say this. Trump supporters, Republicans, are not going to vote for someone who's advocating for reparations. And this is just one issue. And that's not something that was even found out about him. That was something that he just went out and was bragging about yesterday because, his father, Bobby Kennedy, was the one who got President Kennedy on board the civil rights movement. President Kennedy was not in favor of ending segregation and such. And remember that story I've told often about how he got Martin Luther King out of jail. He didn't want to get Martin Luther King out of jail. Bobby Kennedy did it. And Bobby Kennedy got him on board with the civil rights movement, which President Kennedy, when he was a senator, wanted nothing to do with in the 1960 campaign. In fact, after Bobby Kennedy did that, that's why they got Lyndon Johnson in, because Lyndon Johnson was a racist old Klansman, and they needed him to get those racist Democrats in the South. And if you go back and look, they edit this out of a lot of the footage, but when President Kennedy went to Dallas that day, you see the people greeting him at the airport and on the roads. They have American flags and Confederate flags, many of them, as he's driving through. So this is some pretty, So Bobby Kennedy was big into the civil rights movement, and so Bobby Kennedy Jr. is trying to carry on that legacy. But him talking about reparations, don't let anyone tell you that he's going to take votes away from Donald Trump, Bobby Kennedy.
Not with that kind of an
attitude. No. There's just no way. Now, he may take some votes of African Americans that might have voted for Trump that are interested in the reparations issue, but he's not going to take any votes away from Trump from MAGA people. It's just not going to happen. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there is a lot more to talk about. I mean, my goodness, it's hard to believe. Sidney Powell was like one of the heroines of our movement, and here she is now, agreed to testify against President Trump. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
From veteran middle school teacher with over 30 years of classroom experience and author Cynthia Foran comes the book, The Green Patrol, available on Amazon. When you read The Green Patrol, you'll enter a fantastical world beneath the earth where Nicholas Stewart, a 12-year-old with ASD, discovers a kingdom seeking vengeance against humanity. Gifted with special powers and faced with an impossible choice, Nick is torn between loyalties. Will he protect those he loves or pledge allegiance to the mysterious underground realm. Find out when you read The Green Patrol from author Cynthia Foran. You'll experience the adventure through the eyes of his devoted friend Jason as they navigate a world of peril and wonder. It's a tale of friendship, loyalty, and destiny that will whisk you away on a breathtaking journey. Available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback. The Green Patrol from author Cynthia Foran. Order your copy right now and begin the adventure. From author Saj Mahaligam comes a heart-pounding journey into the world of crime and redemption in the book Kitchen Fork, an intriguing crime thriller available right now on Amazon. Meet Jin, a man willing to risk it all to rescue his family from the most guarded detention camps in North Korea. But when the moment of opportunity finally arrives, the price is higher than he ever imagined. The night of escape leaves the family divided, with their lives changed forever. Their 11 and 8-year-old must survive alone in the dark woods, waiting for a mother and sister who never appear. The two boys are captured and sent to an orphanage. Their destinies take an unexpected turn. Then there's Jin's wife and their youngest child who face a difficult decision, one that will haunt them for years. The sons find themselves in the United States, where they form the most feared gang in Chicago. Initially formed to combat bullies, this gang takes a dark turn into drug trafficking and other criminal activities. Kitchen Fork is about family, crime, and redemption. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Kitchen Fork, an intriguing crime thriller from author Saj Mahaligam, available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Lisa, and my husband and I received our My Pillow 2.0 that we ordered with Kane the other day, the buy one, get one free, and they're our first My Pillows, and we love them. We absolutely love them. They're just absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I'm so glad. I got slippers on the way, too.
Go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll-free, 800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Okay, so this unknown guy, Patrick McHenry, he's been like the fill-in Speaker of the House for the last couple of weeks since McCarthy was gone. And since Jim Jordan and others couldn't get it through, you know, for Jordan, they're talking about making him the permanent Speaker or a temporary Speaker and all this stuff. And he's not a very well-known guy, but I didn't trust him from the moment I saw him. And I'll tell you why, and then I'll share some stuff about him. But when I first saw him, I didn't trust him. And you know why I didn't trust him? It's because he's a Republican who wears a bow tie. And the bow tie, I know you'll think that's petty. The bow tie, Tucker used to wear them long ago. The bow tie is what Republicans wear who are part of that elitist Weekly Standard Republican crowd. You know, the golf club, country club Republicans that are snobs. And the bow tie is a dead giveaway. And I just want to read a little bit about who he is, okay? He's only 47 years old, and he looks a lot older than that if you've seen this guy. But listen, this is on his bio on Wikipedia. He's going to be the new Speaker of the House. We're done with this guy. I mean, this is worse. It's worse than McCarthy, this guy being back. It's worse than Kevin McCarthy, having him as the Speaker. I got to tell you. And I'm really upset about this. In mid-2000, this is when his political career began. In mid-2000, McHenry was hired by Karl Rove. Now remember, Karl Rove is behind everything, right? He's behind DeSantis. He's behind it all. In mid-2000, this is prior to 9/11, McHenry was hired by Karl Rove to be the National Coalition Director for George W. Bush's 2000 presidential campaign. In late 2001, he was a volunteer for G.W. Bush's inauguration committee. Then he was special assistant to Elaine Chao, who was the labor secretary at the time for President Bush. Then after that, after he was special assistant to the Secretary of Labor, which seems like a low-level job, he went home to North Carolina and he ran for the General Assembly, and he's held office ever since. So this guy is a hardcore Republican establishment, Bush, Karl Rove guy, and he's one of the worst. And I'll tell you why he's one of the worst. Because be honest, guys, when's the first time you heard of this guy? 2 weeks ago? Did you even know he existed before?
So do you think
he's one of these secret guys that's behind the scenes, Kathy, who's always conniving, and he's like 2 steps away from like Bush?
So do you think that Matt Gaetz didn't think this through? Because he's the one who started all of this. And I love Matt Gaetz, don't get me wrong. But sometimes people do things out of a personal vendetta and they don't think it through properly. And now we're looking like idiots. And, well, they are idiots. I shouldn't say we, they are. And now we're stuck with this guy. So would it have been better just to leave things alone? At least McCarthy was sometimes on our side and sometimes not. But do you think that he thought this through or that he regrets doing this now? It didn't work out the way he planned.
Well, if he doesn't,
do you blame him for this?
There's good and bad things to say about it, okay? And I'll tell you what's going on in the House of Representatives is beyond our ability to control.
Yeah.
Okay? We have no control over this. We're complete outsiders. Remember, I was telling you yesterday that over the weekend, Sean Hannity made a fool out of himself in his self-important egomaniac life and head, and was lobbying members of Congress, right, to vote for Jim Jordan, and that failed. That shows you how even someone so connected can't get something done like that, you know. So this guy here is as establishment, Bush establishment, uniparty as we can get. So while we have no control over this jerk and all of this happening, what Matt Gaetz did was really smoke out this establishment. And remember, the entire House of Representatives is up for re-election every 2 years. A third of the Senate and every member of the House is up. When Donald Trump really starts campaigning, we're going to have 2 waves. The Iowa caucus, there's 3 waves, okay? The Iowa caucus is in January, okay? And so we're going to have campaigning the next couple of months up until then. Then after he starts winning, there's going to be other primaries, lots of campaigning. And after he gets that first wave of the primaries won, you're going to start seeing Trump on stage with people that are running for Congress more than you see now, okay? Yeah. And then when he's officially the nominee or the presumed nominee, you'll even see more people running for Congress with him. So a lot of these establishment Republicans are going to find themselves out of work. We're going to have a bigger majority in the House, and we're going to have more MAGA people next time, because there are going to be a guy that's this much uniparty, all the things that MAGA Republicans want, none of them are going to happen. I doubt we'll see. I would be shocked if we saw Hunter Biden show up in person and testify on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Matt Gaetz thought this through.
I think he did.
No,
I think he did. He smoked out all these swamp creatures.
You don't know if that was his goal, and so what's the price we got to pay for that for the next year of having this guy now running the Congress?
Oh, it's going to be awful.
Exactly.
It's going to be awful.
So I don't know. Maybe you're giving Matt Gaetz too much credit for that. I don't know if he planned that.
I don't know.
I don't think he thought this through enough. I like Matt Gaetz, like I said.
Oh, he's young.
He's young. He's a little impetuous, but I don't think he thought that it would go this way. I don't think he planned all of this. Smoke him out.
No.
I think he really thought that Jim Jordan would get the votes.
Nobody knew this guy,
and that would be it.
Nobody knew this guy would be speaker. But
no, exactly.
But I had expected to see Hunter Biden testify to Comer's committee on TV. He may testify to the committee, but I don't think it's going to happen on TV now. When you got a guy like this taking over, because you got to understand this guy they're talking about making speaker now. He owes everything he has to Karl Rove and to George W. Bush. They hate Trump, and Karl Rove and George W. Bush's entire agenda with Jeb. So the with Jeb is to stop Donald Trump. And so what they want to do is they want Comer's committee. There'll be no impeachments of Joe Biden, who is an incredible criminal. On so many, he's done more criminal activity as president than we could impeach him for. You know, like this giving $100 million to the Palestinians while they're killing Jews in Israel. I mean, this is, he should be impeached for that. He should be impeached for giving the $6 billion to Iran.
What they want to do
who's funding Hamas.
They want to make an example out of the handful of MAGA representatives.
Yeah, like Gates and Marjorie Taylor
Greene. And they want to
Greene.
purge them because they want to make sure nobody else runs with Trump again. Because they want to send a message. If you run with Trump, this is what happens. They're really desperate to purge Trump and his followers out of the government, out of running. And they might not be able to prevent that, but they could try to get them to people that are running to not align with Trump and to turn on Trump if they let them know that he's poison. And if you align with him, you're committing career suicide. And that's how it works in these things. That's how these things work. The government is more corrupt than people can imagine on every level, even your local school board, your local HOA. Mm-hmm. All these bodies where you have people in charge, there's corruption. I mean, even, Jerry Seinfeld used to joke about his parents living in a condo in the HOA, the episodes with the politics. And how that was all crazy.
Boca del Vista.
Boca del Vista.
Del Vista Boca.
Del Vista Boca. Yeah. It's so funny.
Whatever.
And you see that even in a small HOA, whenever you have people together and you have leaders that are elected or whatever appointed, there's corruption. There's problems. I know somebody who lives in a condo who has a woman on the HOA who they think is embezzling money. I mean, this is, they don't have proof, but this is what people are thinking. It's on every level. Anytime you have somebody in a position of power and there's money involved, you're going to have somebody who's going to be corrupt, and it spreads like a disease.
Well, one of the biggest losers,
very contagious.
One of the biggest losers with this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, because Kevin McCarthy is a snake and a jerk and a traitor and can't be trusted. But he was always a little bit on eggshells, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was keeping him on his toes. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's not going to have any juice with this Karl Rove Jeb Bush guy.
I think Matt Gaetz really regrets what he did. I really do, because I know you say he's smoking things out. Maybe that's the one, if you want to try to rationalize it, the one benefit of all this. But this is not what he planned and not what he thought would happen. And now they're just cutting them off. Now they're going to be completely cut out and completely, removed from. I'm telling you, they're out to destroy them.
Now, I want to tell you guys that if you do not follow me on YouTube, make sure you do. Brian Craig Show on YouTube, and on my YouTube channel, I upload our podcast to my YouTube channel. We're on all podcast platforms, but I also upload the podcast here with Kathy on my YouTube channel, and I live stream in the mornings when I'm on the radio on YouTube. But this weekend, I'm going to do something this weekend I've not done in a long, long time, maybe a year. It's been a long time since I've done this. I'm going to do a live stream at Mar-a-Lago, watching the sunrise over Mar-a-Lago this weekend. I don't know if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. It depends on the weather, okay? Because I want to do it when there's not clouds out so we can see the sunrise. So, and my schedule. So, make sure that you follow me on YouTube, Brian Craig Show. Click the notification bell on YouTube, and
Saturday will be sunny.
Sunny on Saturday. I'll try. I'm going to try.
I just checked.
Good. What about Sunday?
Both days. It's going to be a nice sunny weekend.
Okay, then it'll depend on my schedule over the weekend. Okay, but I always live stream on Saturday and Sunday mornings. But one of those mornings is going to be the sunrise at Mar-a-Lago, and when I do that, we don't live too far from Mar-a-Lago. But when I do that, I get there really early and when it's still dark. So I start the stream before there's any peak of light, and then you watch the sunrise over Mar-a-Lago, and it's really cool. And I've not done that in a long, long time. And those of you that watch my morning live stream, you notice I've upgraded my camera and everything that I live stream on. I'm going to be using for the first time with the sunrise over Mar-a-Lago, I'm going to be using the new camera that is in 4K. You probably get it in 1080 on your YouTube, but it's in 4K, and YouTube will stream up to 1080. So you'll see it in 1080, the best you've ever seen it. So Brian Craig Show on YouTube, don't miss that. You'll enjoy it. It's always a lot of fun. There's a lot of people that go there. Well, now there's a handful of guys that fish outside of Mar-a-Lago early in the morning, so they're there with me.
See guys fishing everywhere down here.
Yeah.
Every canal, every lake, you'll always see guys and their kids. It's nice.
And every once in a while, you'll see the Secret Service go talk to the fishermen. You'll see, the Secret Service are on patrol and everything else. It's a lot of fun, and you'll enjoy it. So Brian Craig Show on YouTube. Make sure you do that. So anyway, to finish all this up, for the rest of the MAGA movement, which is going to be forever, we're always going to be dealing with the establishment, okay? And you got to understand, the Republican establishment has been there since 1860 when Lincoln got elected. So they've got a lot of years ahead of us, and they control the process in the Republican Party, and it's a very difficult thing to overcome. And you see how these things work in the House. It's not you've got to get a majority of the House members who are present. Okay, you got to get a majority of the House members who are present to win the majority. And what they've been doing, these Republican establishment people all week long, they've been doing it for 2 weeks, but what they've been doing hardcore in the last couple of days when they've had these speaker votes is they've been going around bribing and blackmailing and coercing House members to vote for or against Jim Jordan or vote for this person or that person in exchange for something. Your kid, your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law, your wife, they get on a board. You get a special donor that you didn't have before for your campaign. You get an endorsement you didn't have before. You get made the chairman of a committee that's pretty high up, so you're on TV all the time. They're going around wheeling and dealing, and this is the swamp at work. And Congress is a very difficult thing to beat. Congress, because it's everybody in Congress pretty much. There are some exceptions like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, a handful of others, but most everyone in Congress, regardless of their party, they're as corrupt as Joe Biden. Now he takes it to a higher level. He's like the top most corrupt guy, does it at a level, but all of them have family members with these fake jobs, just like Hunter and just like Joe's brother.
But look what happened to Madison Cawthorn.
Exactly.
He is a prime example. Here you have a young guy with a bright future. Handsome guy. He's like a Ralph Lauren model. A little weird, did some weird stuff, but I think he was kind of set up with that.
Yeah.
He told a little secret that he wasn't supposed to tell on an interview. And there's a lot of things that go on in Washington that you don't talk about. Secret deals, orgies, prostitution, drugs, all these things that go on. I think it's worse than Hollywood in Washington, frankly. And you never hear anybody there talking about this kind of stuff. They don't let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
He let the cat out of the bag, and look what happened to him now. He's done. He's done with politics, and that's it. He's a regular guy. And this is what they don't want. They work so hard. These are people that want to go into politics. They want to be in a position of power. That's why they go into this. They want that power. You think they're just going to let it slip through their fingers?
No.
And do you think that people are going to let that happen?
Yeah.
They would go to somebody and say, "We have put a lot of money into your campaign. You owe us, and you're not going to F this up. We own your ass now." And that's how it is. So once you're in, you're in. And Madison Cawthorn, I don't know, maybe he wanted out. I don't know. Maybe he did that on purpose. I don't think so. I think he's just young and he just slipped.
I don't think he did it on purpose. He was naive.
But, right,
he thought
he was just young and naive.
He thought he could beat them.
But you never, ever hear anything like that spoken of. And don't think it doesn't happen.
And you don't hear from him anymore either.
And you don't hear from him. He's done.
He didn't get the jobs on the cable news or anything.
That's right. He's a regular guy now that's got to get a regular job and live a normal life, which for most of these people is like their biggest fear, is to be out of that club. So believe me, they know what they're getting into. I love these actors that go on TV. Well, I didn't realize, I had the lack of privacy. Bull crap. They love it. They know exactly what they're getting into. They sell their souls for the money and the fame and the power that comes with these positions. And they know exactly what they're getting into when they do it. And you speak out and you say publicly what's happening behind closed doors. You're done. The minute he said that, you and I talked about it. I'm like, the guy's done. He's never going to get reelected. And that's it. Kevin McCarthy, they all made sure. Boom, he's out.
Well, Axios is reporting. I just saw this on Twitter. This is from Axios. Kevin McCarthy reportedly screamed at Matt Gaetz to sit down when Matt Gaetz grabbed a microphone to speak at the Republican conference this morning. Matt Gaetz responded to McCarthy, "You sit down, Kevin. You've been fired." And they were yelling at each other at the top of their lungs. So things are the nastiest they have been in the House of Representatives in the modern era. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
From author John Spagnoli comes a thrilling ride filled with mystery and intrigue, Cliff, available on BarnesandNoble.com, Library Palace Market, Apple Books, Smashwords, and other online booksellers. In Cliff, meet veteran detectives Skull and Violet, who navigate a maze of mysteries, just like the winding cliff roads where mysterious deaths are happening. Skull is suffering from PTSD from his military service and finds strength in his lifelong friend Violet. Secrets run deep as these two detectives secretly harbor feelings for each other as they jump headfirst into cold cases in their beloved seaside city. A surge of supposed suicides, from women dropped over cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean to paranormal activity in the twilight hours. Nothing makes sense to the detectives until rumors of a cult lead to unexpected botanical revelations. Colorful characters spice up the treacherous hunt to catch the perpetrators before the next victim is sacrificed. But with Skull's PTSD, can they still solve the case? Find out when you read Cliff from author John Spagnoli. Available on BarnesandNoble.com, Library Palace Market, Apple Books, Smashwords, and other online booksellers. This is a must-read for mystery lovers everywhere. Order your copy right now. Parents, grandparents, and teachers, take a thrilling Halloween adventure with your children like you've never taken before. With the book Brain Juice from New York author Michelle Ura. Being a zombie can be a real challenge, but this new zombie girl discovers a whole new way to enjoy her zombie diet. She craves the juicy crunch of apples, the sweetness of strawberries, and the fresh tropical taste of bananas. But what happens when she decides to mix these tasty fruits with brains? Find out when you read Brain Juice. Available in both Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Don't miss this chance to treat your little ones to this fun and spooky adventure. Order Brain Juice from author Michelle Ura today on Amazon. Brain Juice, where Halloween meets healthy eating in the most unexpected way. Order your copy on Amazon. The new book from author and poet Kimberly Hockaday, The Haunted Typewriter, is now available. The Haunted Typewriter is a collection of dark and creepy poems that will send shivers down your spine as you explore the mysterious and unsettling tales inside. It's a tribute to the great Edgar Allan Poe. Throughout the book, keen readers will discover subtle references to Poe's work that add an extra layer of intrigue. The Haunted Typewriter is available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle. If you call your local Barnes & Noble store, they'll be happy to order a copy for you. Kimberly Hockaday's work has graced the pages of newspapers and literary magazines. Each poem in The Haunted Typewriter is a portal to the unknown. Journey into the macabre and order your copy today. The Haunted Typewriter from author Kimberly Hockaday is available now on Amazon or by request at your local Barnes & Noble.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Welcome back, everyone. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And, you know, those of you that are Patreon supporters, your support does help us a lot. And there are benefits and exclusive content. Kathy and I are always posting exclusive content to our Patreon page. Sometimes it's related to the issues we're talking about. A lot of times it's behind the scenes or private stuff at home. And Kathy sometimes puts stuff up there I wouldn't put up, but she puts it up anyway. And then I find out after, I'm like, well, okay.
Today I put up my best friend sent it to me, an old picture of you and me with Emily. She was like 3 months old. You look like you're 15 in this picture.
Yeah, I know.
And you're like 28. I was about 29. And Emily's like 3 months old. And my friend sent that to me. I put that up on there. Yeah. It was a cute picture.
So when you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to all kinds of exclusive, including commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, you can do that. There's a link in the description, or just go to the website directly, patreon.com/realbriancraigshow, patreon.com/real Brian Craig Show. And one of those benefits, our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every podcast episode. So the names I'm going to share with you now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P., Carlos, Paulette, John, ActicFox, Heather, David, Richard, Maria in Texas, and Melissa. These are our top Patreon supporters. I was just reading this. I don't believe this story. You guys can let me know in the comments if you do or not. An Iowa Republican congresswoman who voted against Jim Jordan for Speaker says she has received credible death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as the party's efforts to settle on a leader took a dark turn today. Her name is Marionette Miller Meeks. I don't like people that hyphenate their names, really. That's just usually someone that hyphenates their name. When a woman hyphenates her name, I don't know anything about this woman. I've never heard of her before. But usually when someone like this hyphenates her name, a congresswoman, her family are like some big shots in Iowa where she's from, so she wants everyone to know that she's with the Miller family.
Well, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz does it so people know she's Jewish and not German.
That's correct.
Even though she's married to a German.
Yeah, well, she's Jewish, but Schultz sounds, Sergeant Schultz, and all that stuff. Who gets heroes? So when this woman hyphenate, but anyway, she revealed the thread on Twitter, now called X, shortly after the House once again failed to elect a speaker. Rather than fall in line behind Jim Jordan, an outspoken candidate with the Republican for trying to fillet witnesses in combative hearings, blah, blah, blah. She said, she says, since my first vote, that's against, she voted against him every time, I have received credible death threats and a barrage of threatening calls. The proper authorities have been notified and my office is cooperating fully. I don't believe that Jim Jordan's people are threatening people. There was another story a couple days ago I talked about. There was the wife of a congressman said that she was receiving threatening text messages on her cell phone from Jim Jordan supporters. I don't believe any of this. I don't think Jim Jordan's people are threatening. How are Jim
Jordan supporters getting their numbers?
Exactly. And, this is the thing about death threats. And Kathy, tell you, over the years, I've had problems with people and I've had threats. When you have credible threats, which I have had, I don't talk to you guys about them. You don't go public with them. You let the authorities handle them. And the reason you do that is you don't want to tip off the person that the...
Oops, sorry, dropped my phone.
You might get the new iPhone 15.
For the 100th time this year.
Is the glass broken? No. Okay.
Yeah, my phone's totally cracked.
You're stuck with the 14, Kathy.
It's okay. My phone, I drop it like 10 times a day. It's so bad.
So the reason you don't talk publicly about threats like that is so you don't tip off the person making the threats that the authorities are onto them, and that's how you catch them, okay? So I don't believe that story.
And what does a credible threat mean?
I don't know.
Is it her idea of credible? What does that mean exactly?
I don't know. Well, a lot of people like to be victims, and a lot of people think if people are after them and everything, that it gives them credibility. I've known a lot of people in my line of work who just like to think everybody wants to kill them and hurt them all the time. Yeah. And you get credible things. I've had many happen since Kathy and I have been married, and it's part of the job. But it's nothing that people that get the real ones go around and. I know I'm talking about them now because I'm not talking about a current one, and I don't have any currently going on. But
don't give anybody any ideas.
But when they do happen, you go to the authorities, and I have, and sometimes the authorities come to you. You don't even know about it.
That has happened too.
You don't go public and start talking about it until justice is done. Okay, believe me, I know. But I don't believe these threats that Jim Jordan's people are making threats. First of all, that just doesn't make sense.
Well, they're really out to villainize him. It's really bad.
They want to portray him an insurrectionist, and this fits into that.
I don't know how that label stuck with him. He wasn't even at I don't think he was even at the Capitol.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting how they had this you talked about this overtaking of the Capitol the other day by Rashida Tlaib, who led this. And, she actually went there with a group of people Trump didn't even go to the Capitol. He was like standing a mile or so away giving a speech. And she was actually there screaming her head off. And people said they were there because of her. And she's not going to get arrested or jammed up or any kind of problems.
I did my whole morning live stream on this.
Yeah.
Rashida Tlaib caused an insurrection at the Capitol. Yesterday, she got up and spoke to a group of pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli people. Some of them said they were Jews. Just because they say they're Jews doesn't mean they are Jews. Some of them may have been. But she gave...
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think it was an insurrection. It was a protest, exactly what Trump was.
Well,
it was a protest.
Kathy, what I'm saying is
J6 was a protest just like this.
It was an insurrection based on the way the media and the Democrats and the Uniparty have classified January 6th. She gave a speech, which she lied. She said Israel bombed that hospital. By the way, the hospital wasn't even hit. It was the parking lot, and it wasn't Israel. It was Hamas. It was determined. But even after that was determined, she went out and said Israel did this. Then she said, you are on the right side of history by supporting Hamas that murdered all these people, these innocent people, these civilians. And then what did they do? They broke into the Capitol building. They climbed the fencing. They broke through the fencing around it.
It's a
and
protest.
They went in. Yeah, that's what they're calling this today.
Well, then that's what J6 was.
Well,
how the hell is it any different?
There are people in federal prison right now.
That's right.
That were there on January 6th.
So is anybody from yesterday going to go to jail?
They detained,
like the shaman?
They detained hundreds of people, but I haven't heard of any arrests. They let them go.
No, the media won't follow up, and they'll let them all go. And in their mind, it's different because in their mind, we're dangerous.
Yeah.
But these people are not. Even though it was the same thing, it was a protest that maybe got a little out of hand, but there was no attempt by anybody to overthrow with J6. It was just a protest, and this has happened at many Capitol buildings in this country.
Yeah,
there was one in Tennessee where those students broke in.
And by the way, it doesn't mean that these protests are right.
No,
but the one.
But it is call it what it is.
The one thing that's been a common theme that we hear about a lot. What has these people so freaked out is this is the first time in history where Republicans have been organized activists and have protested things. That's never happened before. Before Trump, there were people that were pro-life activists, okay?
No, you're wrong. It happened during the Civil Rights Movement. They were Republicans.
Not like this. No, not like this.
Martin Luther King and all them?
No, because they weren't well, at that time, at the end, Martin Luther King was a Democrat at the end.
No, but at the beginning with the bus and everything, they were Republican then with the Selma and everything.
That's different, Kathy, because they were not advocating to get different people elected to the presidency or to Congress. They were protesting to just end segregation on the buses. No,
but it was still a group of organized Republicans that were protesting.
Well, they were seen
it has happened.
It's different because they were seen as what the Democrats called them was racial agitators is what they called them. But it was a different thing. No, the Republican Party has never had activists that were organized activists trying to get Republicans elected to the presidency or to the Congress. It's never happened like this before. And Democrats have pretty much had a monopoly on protest and activism.
Certainly since the 70s.
Yeah, most every activist group that you've ever heard of is a liberal group. And the MAGA movement is the first mainstream, large Republican activist group. And the civil rights movement, by the way, with Martin Luther King, they did great work and everything. They didn't have the kind of numbers that the MAGA group does, okay? There were not as many of them as people think. First off, blacks are a minority, and they didn't have a lot of white. There were some whites with them, but not very many, okay? So it was Martin Luther King's movement, while very, very important and did great work, was much smaller than the MAGA movement.
So is Biden going to label these people from yesterday domestic terrorists like he labeled MAGA?
It's not even in the news anymore. That thing with Tlaib yesterday, and it happened. It's not even in the news.
And these Republicans just are a disgrace. They're useless. They should be going on TV and saying this exact same thing that we're saying.
None of them are.
They should say it's either a protest or an insurrection, but they're both were the same. So let's apply the same standard to each. But they hate Trump so much. Even before Trump came along, when Obama was president, they did nothing. They're rhinos. They're like John McCain. They're Republican in name only, and they're part of the swamp. They're the uniparty, and they're useless. They're absolutely useless. And I think you're right. It's a good thing they've been smoked out. But, the election's a year from now. Are people even going to remember?
That's right.
That all this happened?
It's already what happened with Tlaib today or yesterday has already been forgotten. We're the only ones that talked about it.
Exactly. I mean, now, people forget.
Now, this morning, I shipped out a huge shipment of the Mighty MAGA Lions. I mean, a big one. And I took it to the post office myself. I had to make several trips from our SUV. I couldn't take Kathy's Mini Cooper because
luckily
they
we
wouldn't
live
fit.
Pretty close.
Yeah, well,
we have a local post office.
We had so many they wouldn't fit in your Mini Cooper, Kathy. So I had to take my car. I got an SUV, and those of you that ordered your Mighty MAGA Lions today during my live stream, I said if you order during the live stream, they'll go out this morning. They have all been mailed, and the Mighty MAGA Lions are on the way. And when I go to the post office. I've been going so much now because of the Mighty MAGA Lions. They all know me there. And they have these carts, these huge bins that because we have everything, most of them, we print up the labels, the shipping labels and everything at home on most of them, not all, but on most of them. So the ones that already have the postage done, when I get to the post office, I got to put them in this bin. We sent out so many MAGA Lions today, the Mighty MAGA Lion, available online at mightymagalion.com. We sent out so many Mighty MAGA Lions today that I filled up a bin and had to get them to bring another bin, which is huge. And I filled that one up too.
And now we have a special. If you go to the website, mightymagalion.com, if you order 2 or 3, you get a little bit of a discount on those. So there are a lot of people ordering 2 and some ordering 3. We have one person that's ordered like 6.
Yeah, they're great.
So far. They must be giving them to everybody for Christmas. I think it's a fantastic Christmas gift. So cute. And you can send them to anybody who loves Trump. And I'm telling you, they will absolutely love it. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. And this is the only stuffed animal that I have seen that has the MAGA hat with the 45. And the only one that's a lion. Everybody else, even Trump, has a teddy bear. This is different. This is a lion. It's adorable. It's got the blonde mane. We modeled that after Trump's hair on purpose. And the MAGA hat. I mean, you can't get this anywhere else.
And the Mighty MAGA Lion, available online at mightymagalion.com. This isn't like a drop ship, okay?
They're at our house.
We had these custom made.
That's right.
We had these custom made, and they have been delivered to our house. And we got a lot of them here.
Dee, who's a moderator, a Patreon, a listener. She has a company that makes these animals for sports teams and things like this. So we approached her, and I said, what about if we did something for Trump? And she's like, I love that idea. So she and I and Brian, we worked on the design of this for a good 6 months, back and forth. We put a lot of thought into this lion. We didn't just say make a lion.
And
we had to
not
design
only that,
the face and everything,
and then
the body, the coloring,
and the manufacturer. They sent us composite drawings, and then they sent us a prototype to approve. And then we had to approve the prototype and make changes. So so
it was
pretty
fun.
cool.
It was a fun process.
Never anything like it.
And so we're really excited because the response has been fantastic. And like Brian said, we have them all here at our house, in boxes, ready to go, climate controlled. They'll come to you in perfect condition. And Brian and I boxed them up ourselves. We put a little thank you note in there, and you get it directly. So please order one. You will absolutely love it, or give it for a gift. I'm telling you, it's a fantastic gift for a Trump lover.
Yep. MightyMagalion.com. MightyMagalion.com. Order yours. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.